Hello students, Chemistry Rights team once again welcomes you for the NEET mock test 86 released by the National Test Abhias. There is a detailed solutions for each and every questions given. Try to utilize it to the maximum level you can. We will step into the very first question. De Broglie wavelength of a neutron at 927 degrees Celsius is given, that is assumed to be lambda. Then what is the de Broglie wavelength at 27 degrees Celsius is asked for. So the de Broglie wavelength and kinetic energy is inversely related via this equation, and kinetic energy from kinetic theory of gases we can say it is directly proportional to temperature. So therefore lambda of 27 degrees Celsius is inversely proportional, so inversely it is written. So for 927 is also it is inversely written kinetic energy, and that in turn directly proportional to temperature. So we are converting into a Kelvin temperature, 927 plus 273. So we are end up with 1200. 27 degrees Celsius plus 273, 300. That results in root over 4. And lambda of 927 degrees Celsius is given as lambda. So substituting that here, we get 2 lambda as the answer. So option C is the correct answer for this. Second question. Sulfur reacts with chlorine in 1:2 ratio. So 1 mole of sulfur and then 2 mole of chlorine. When it reacts, it forms SCl4. And hydrolysis of that SCl4 is resulting in then another compound called Y. That compound Y is H2SO3. So H2SO3 anionic part hybridization is asked for. So the anionic part of H2SO3 is SO3 minus 2. SO3 minus 2 is called as sulfite. When any anion ends with ite, you have to say S as the acid name. So sulfurous acid. Similarly, nitrite, ite, S, nitrous acid. Sulfate, sulfuric acid. Nitrate, nitric acid. So if it is ite, you'll have to end with S. If it is ate, you'll have to end with ic acid. So the structure of SO3 2 minus or H2SO3 can be written this way. The sulfur at the central atom, and there is a lone pair, and 1, 2 and then 3. So total 3 plus 1 lone pair. So totally the steric factor is 4. So 4 sigma bonds. 1, 2, 3 and then 4 sigma bonds. So sp3 hybridization. If you count, you should get 4. 1 s orbital and then 3 p orbital. So steric number is 4. And we can also alternatively can identify the hybridization in a simple formula. Hybridization equal to 1 by 2 valence electron for central atom. Sulfur is the central atom. So central atom valence electron is 6, and there is no charge on the cation or no monovalent group. So monovalent group is 0. Charge of the cation is also 0, and anionic charge there is a minus 2 here. So that minus 2 is written as plus 2. So plus A. Anionic charge must be added up. So 6 plus 8 by 2. So therefore we will say 4 again sp3. This is how we can arrive at option A as the answer. Third question. In the given reaction, hydrogen palladium, which is a reduction reaction, the product is what type of nature, whether it is optically active or optically inactive. That is what the question is. So you have to find out first whether active or inactive. So after adding an hydrogen to the double bond, I find this is optically inactive. Why? Because initially this carbon is a chiral carbon. So this is also, I've given asterisk here. You can check. This carbon is attached to 4 different groups. One side, this is one group, and the second group is CH3. The third group is ethyl. The fourth group is hydrogen. So the carbon attached to 4 different groups. So there is one stereo center. But after that hydrogen is added, there is no stereo center present at all. If you could take still this high carbon, but there are 2 CH2, CH3. The carbon attached to 2 same groups cannot act as a stereo center. So and even if you take every single carbon also, every single carbon has got same number of hydrogens. Here 3 hydrogens are present. Here also 3 hydrogens. Here also 2 hydrogens. And here already 2 ethyl group has come. Here 2 hydrogens. Here also 3 hydrogens. So no stereo center present. So therefore optically inactive. So by that way we can neglect these two. Now meso in the sense it will be chiral center will be there or stereo center will be there, but the product is meso. Maybe that is because of some POS, plane of symmetry, or center of symmetry or axis of symmetry, something like that. But here there is no stereo center at all, so this is also seems to be a wrong option. Again, third one, only option is there is no presence of stereo center. That aptly exactly present is at option C. Fourth question. This is a very famous question. Even in my previous videos, I've told you that this type of question is very, very important. So 200 milligram of carbon dioxide is present. So first find out how many molecules are there in 200 milligram of carbon dioxide. We know 44 gram has got Na carbon dioxide. So 200 into 10 power minus 3 gram is going to have how much carbon dioxide molecule. So by cross multiplying it, we will come to know that 2.727 into 10 power 21 CO2 molecules are present in 200 mg. So then how much molecules from that is removed is 10 power 21 molecules are removed. So subtracting from 10 power 21, ensure when you subtract any scientific notations, the exponents are exactly equal. Otherwise, be cautious, make it equal and then subtract or do the addition. So here we must subtract. So 10 power minus 20, 10 power 21 is taken commonly out. So 2.73 minus 1. So 1.73. So the answer for that exactly that is matching is again C, option C. And in the reaction Br2 giving rise to Br minus and BrO3, what is asked for is whether the reaction is undergoing reduction or oxidation or disproportionation. So we can say it is a disproportionation reactions. As you could see here, bromine oxidation state transforms from 0 to -1 and then +5. So minus 1 in the case of Br minus and +5 in the case of BrO3. So BrO3 minus +5, Br minus -1. So it is a disproportionation reaction. And next, sixth question, the highest boiling point is expected for. So this is a basic concepts. Here also a key concepts related to it is given. So next time when you get the same question, you can apply this key concept. So with increase in number of carbon atoms, so van der Waals force is going to increase. So the boiling point is also going to increase. And now when you take isomeric alkanes, let's say N-octane, isooctane or some other group, if it is present, then if the branching is going to be increased, the molecule is going to slowly get a spherical shape. When the molecule is getting a spherical shape, it occupies only less surface area. In fact, it affects the van der Waals force because the area is very less. So automatically there will be slight repulsion starts to happen. So it will have a less van der Waals force. When the van der Waals force is very less, even the melting point also will be very, very less. So among isomeric alkanes, what my suggestion is, or what my point here is, the carbon with more branching will be definitely less boiling point. Okay. So the option C is also containing 8 carbon when you could see the structures. So A, B, C all are 8 carbons. And option D, butane is only 4 carbons. So when comparative to D, ABC should be very high boiling point because of increase of carbon atom. But all the ABC has got now only 8 carbon. So among that 8 carbon, now we must check in the presence of a very, very less branching. So very, very less branching is found in the normal chain. So therefore the sixth one we can say it is option B. So if you want me to tell the order of the boiling point of this particular one, so I will say N-octane, option B stands first. Next isooctane A, and then C, which is 2,2, 3,3 tetramethyl butane, and then N-butane. The next question number 7. Compressibility factor graph is given. So they are asking for the temperature rate. Okay, so we may say this is an ideal gas behavior. The center graph is the nature of the ideal gas, and it is a center line, and the temperature that is close to at the ideal gas is T1. So we know the real gas tends to behave ideally at very low pressure and then high temperature. So therefore at very high temperature, the real gas tends to behave ideally, which means the T1 is somewhat close to the ideal behaviorism, which means T1 must be somewhat greater in temperature. Then next comes T2, then next T3, then T4. So the exact options that is matching with this one is again 7th B1, T1, T2, T3 and then T4. Coming to the 8th question, anti-Markovnikov addition of HBr is not observed in. So remember, the addition of HBr is specifically a characteristic reaction of the alkene. So the electrophilic addition reaction undergoes very readily in the case of alkene. So it is a compound containing a double bond. And that too specifically Markovnikov anti-Markovnikov rule can be applied in the case of unsymmetrical alkene, not in the case of symmetrical alkene. So but-1-ene results in two products, two types of HBr I can add. So anti-Markovnikov addition is the negative part has to go to the carbon carrying more number of hydrogen. So the more number of hydrogen is, we may say here, Br. Okay, so this is an anti-Markovnikov product. And option C is a symmetrical alkene, so you cannot apply the anti-Markovnikov rule. And pent-2-ene again goes with the two different products, so therefore the which is not observed is asked for. So propane is saturated, which is already having the needed number of carbon, so it is not generally or needed number of valency, so it is not ready to undergo any type of reaction. So there is no reaction with the HBr with the propane possibly. Then what should be the answer for this is C, but-2-ene, because that is symmetrical alkene. Symmetrical alkene will always results in only one product, so that is an identical product. Both the products are identical, so option C. Question number 9. When sulfur dioxide is passed through aqueous solution of I2, since it is an aqueous solution of I2, let me take water as well as iodine. Iodine is generally a violet solid, and that gets converted into colorless, and when sulfur dioxide is converting into sulfuric acid. So therefore it is just only the formation reactions kind, we can say, or combination of SO2 and I2. It's the best option that is matching here is option C. 10th question. The number of manganese ion in tetrahedral and octahedral sides respectively, Mn3O4, it's a mixed oxide and it will be a spinel structure. And what a spinel structure is, Ab2O4 is what we call it as a spinel structure. And if you find the oxidation state, there will be a fractional oxidation state, which means the sum of all the three oxidation states of manganese, if you take into consideration, that is going to become plus 8/3. You can understand why it is plus 8/3. There are two manganese with plus 3 oxidation state. So 2 into 3 plus 6 plus 2. So there are total oxidation state is 8, and divided by the total number of manganese is 3 atoms. So 8/3. Now the point here is, what is spinel structure? So therefore what we can say is, the spinel structure is, it is going to occupy 1/8 of the tetrahedral voids, and the B3 plus is going to occupy 1/2 of the octahedral voids available. So the one which forms lattice here is oxides. So the oxide ion forms a lattice. I think so I've given the next page. So the oxide ion forms the lattice, 4 oxides. So 8 tetrahedral voids and 4 octahedral voids will be present for the 4 oxide ions. Of that, completely it is occupied by A. So the number of atoms present in A is going to be 1. Half of it is going to be occupied, octahedral voids, by B. So the total number of octahedral voids is 4. Of that, half is 2. So therefore that is occupied by this one. So there are 4 oxides. So A1, B2 and then O4. So therefore Ab2O4 is the structure of spinel 1. Okay, this forms a lattice, and A plus and B3 plus is going to occupy the sides, vacant sides. So we can understand there is one oxygens with Mn2 plus state and 2 Mn with plus 3 oxidation state. So therefore 1 Mn plus 2 and then 2 Mn plus 3. So the option that is matching exactly here is 10th option, A. It is also can be written as MnO dot Mn2O3. That is another way of writing it, because it is a mixed oxide. So MnO dot Mn2O3 is the other way of representing that equation. Next, 11th question. Which among the following statement is a false statement? I find the statement that is false here is a GeCl2 is more stable than GeCl4. But practically speaking, the stability is reversed. Ge plus 4, carbon, silicon, germanium. Up to germanium, plus 4 will be the most stable oxidation state. But when it comes to down, carbon, silicon, germanium, tin, lead. For tin and lead, plus 2 oxidation state starts to predominate. Of course, for lead, only the plus 2 is the most stable oxidation state due to inert pair effect. So therefore, option B seems to be wrong. Option A, which is an amphoteric, yes, of course, it reacts with acids as well as bases, and it forms correspondingly the compounds. and even GeCl4 in HCl forms a complex compounds, and GeO2 is weakly acidic because down the group we know slowly the basic character starts to happen. Moreover, germanium is a metalloid one, so it will be of amphoteric, and moreover it will be of somewhat weakly acidic. Okay, so therefore we may say all the statements given is correct except B. Next, treatment of propionaldehyde with dilute NaOH, which is an aldol condensation. Any aldehyde with a base, you must immediately infer that if it contains alpha hydrogen, that it is an aldol condensation. So the base NaOH, which is OH minus, is abstracting hydrogen, alpha hydrogen. This is an alpha hydrogen or alpha carbon. This is because CHO next to the carbon is alpha carbon. In that hydrogen, alpha hydrogen, and it abstracts that hydrogen, so thereby it gets a formal charge of -1. This minus in turn attacks on the carbonyl carbon positive charge, and it therefore the 2 electrons goes to the oxygen. So then finally it results in the aldol product. Why it is called as aldol is aldehyde plus alcohol, so ald plus aldol product. Further, condensation product is also given, but the option stops with aldol product. So the 12th one, option B, only seems to be a perfect match of it. 13th question, a monobasic acid of phosphorus which reduces HCl2 to black mercury. Black spelling is, you'll have to change it. So H3PO2, so we may say the basicity is only 1 because this is the only one which can give it. So therefore it acts as a reducing agent, which means it reduces Hg plus 2 to Hg plus 1. Themselves undergo oxidation. When it reduces other substances, themselves undergo oxidation. From +1 to, it undergoes oxidation to +5. Okay, so the +5 is phosphoric acid. And Hg plus, which is also called as calomel or mercury ion. So the Hg plus in the solution always exists as a dimer form. Why it exists as a dimer form is the theory says that Hg plus is a diamagnetic in nature, but actually speaking, if it is not dimerized, then it will be of paramagnetic in nature. But what is observed is diamagnetic in nature. So therefore, in order to tell the diamagnetic nature, the mercury was assumed to exist in the form of dimer state. So therefore, Hg2 2 plus can be written. Okay, so therefore it is the option that it matches exactly here is A, hypophosphorus acid. Next, question number 14. N2 plus H2 giving rise to 2 ammonia, equilibrium, Le Chatelier principle. So the number of moles of hydrogen must be increased at equilibrium. For that, what we must do? Okay, so when all these are gaseous one, okay, there are 3 moles of one hydrogen and 1 mole of nitrogen, totally 4 moles of gaseous product. On the other side, there are 2 moles of ammonia, so 4 to 2. Okay, so if you want to shift the reaction to lesser number of moles, then you have to increase the pressure. When the pressure is very high, the equilibrium shifts towards the lesser number of moles. Okay, so therefore that to gaseous moles. So now here I want the hydrogen moles to increase, which means the reaction has to proceed in a backward direction, which means from 2 to 4 there must be an increase in the total number of gaseous moles. So there must be then increase in the volume. So therefore 14th option A seems correct one. Next, 15th question, the solubility product of different sparingly soluble salts is asked for. And this is a very easiest trick, and immediately you can identify once it is obtained in the examination. So XY, I can write the XY KSP as S square, and the S square derivation is given over here. And X2Y can be written as 4S cube. And how it is 4xy is X2Y can be dissociated into 2x plus Y2 minus. So 2s, then we will result it in 4s cube after substituting the corresponding values. Then same way for xy3, we may get 27 s power 4. By substituting, there is an 1 mole solubility is assumed to be s, 3 moles of y is there, so we must take it as 3s. And finally, for xy, I'm not taking these values actually. So I'm not taking these values. I'm just considering only the exponent for the solubility comparisons. So 10 power minus 20 equal to s square. So s equal to root over 1 by 10. So 10 power minus 20 power 1 by, not 10, sorry, 1 by 2. So 1 by 2 is going to be 10 power minus 10. Same way 10 power minus 12 I made it by converting this 3.2 into 32 into 10 power minus 12. So that you are getting 10 power minus 4 when you divide by 1 by 3. And then 10 power minus 32, 2.7 can be written as 27 into 10 power minus 32. So that is also is resulting in 10 power minus 8. So that is 1 by 4. So 10 power minus 4 and then 10 power minus 10. Okay. So then the highest magnitude is possible for x2, y, and then we may say x, y3 and then x, y. Okay, so therefore this is the order, and the exact answer that it matches is 1, 3, 2 is option A, which is an increasing order is asked for. So do not answer in a reverse 2, 3, 1. Okay, there is no such options also anyways. Question number 16. Which of the following alkenes is most stable? So the most stable alkene can be identified with the help of alpha hydrogen. If the alpha hydrogen is more, stability of the alkene is also more. So I have written a but-1-ene structure and hiding this carbon-carbon double bond. After hiding this carbon-carbon double bond, let me calculate the alpha hydrogen. So here the alpha hydrogen, what you get is, here is, let's say alpha hydrogen is 2. After having this carbon-carbon double bond, you get alpha hydrogen is 2. And here the alpha hydrogen is more. What is alpha hydrogen? Carbon-carbon, next to it all the carbons are alpha. So there are 4 alpha carbons. So altogether each alpha carbon is 3, 3. So that it is 12 alpha hydrogens. And here the alpha hydrogen for this carbon-carbon again is going to be 6. When it is 6, it gets 7 hyperconjugative structures. And here again carbon-carbon bond, and in this carbon-carbon bond is also again alpha hydrogen is observed to be 6. Okay, so we may say here alpha hydrogen is 6. So both are C and D is equally stable, but cis trans, when you compare, trans form is somewhat more stable than the cis form. So the order what we can say on this is, the first one is B, and then next is a trans form, and then cis form, then option E. So the answer for this 16th question is B. Next 17th question. Which of the following complex represents penta aqua cyanido ion 3 trichlorido tricyanido cobaltate 3? So writing that formula and then identifying the entity charge. So to identify the entity charge as +2 and -3, we use this technique. Iron is given as +3 in the question itself. So 3, for water it is 0, for cyanide -1. So the entity charge is assumed to be X. So X equal to 2. So that is why the X charge is written here as +2 on the top. And then trichlorido tricyanido cobaltate 3. So tricyanido trichlorido cobaltate 3, when you apply cobalt 3 and chlorine 3 chlorine, so -3, cyanide -3 equal to X. So then we may cancel these two, so then X equal to -3. So the charge is -3. So after crisscrossing, the formula will become something like this. That was found in the option D. Okay. Question number 18. Alcohol can be prepared from alkenes by which of the following reactions? And this particular one is prepared using an oxidation method. When you treat it with the paracids like phenyl COOOH, then possibly it forms in the formation of epoxide, and from epoxide upon hydrolyzing it forms a alkene. Okay, so therefore we may say alcohols is produced from the alkene. So therefore we may say the correct option is oxidation. Question number 19. There is a data given. Standard enthalpy of formation of HCl is asked for. So the standard formation of HCl can be identified with the help of desired equations. So the equation what I need here is HCl must be formed. 1 mole of HCl must be formed from its stable elements, that is hydrogen gas and then chlorine gas. Then what do you observe here is formation enthalpy of HCl is asked for. So then formation enthalpy in terms of bond energy can be calculated, reactants minus products. So this is bond energy of hydrogen, bond dissociation energy of chlorine, and bond dissociation energy of HCl is given. So use the simple formula. So reactant bond dissociation energy is H2 and then Cl2. So therefore these two data must be taken, and half of it minus 103.2. So finally the answer you get for this is C, minus 22.1 kilocalories. Question number 20. The nature of curve of E0 cell against log Kc is asked for. So the Kc and the log E0 cell can be related this way, which is in the format of y equal to mx, which pass through a straight line. or it has a straight line passing through the origin. So it seems option A is a correct one. And which of the following compounds will undergo carbylamine reaction? Carbylamine reaction is well known for the primary amine. So the primary amine over here is C6H5NH2, that is found in option C. So C6H5NH2 it will undergo. So option C. It forms fall smelling isocyanide compound. And question number 22. According to Einstein equations, some photoelectric equation, some graphs has been given, so you need to fulfill that graph. And I'll say for this, when threshold frequency equal to the frequency of radiations, we may say there will not be any ejection of excess kinetic energy, or the ejection of electrons will happen, but there will not be any kinetic energy. So the kinetic energy is going to increase only when you increase the frequency of the radiation. So that is exactly matching for option C. So at kinetic energy equal to 0, this is the spot or point at which the kinetic energy is 0, for which the nu equal to nu naught. And with increase in frequency, we may say it keeps on increasing. The kinetic energy keeps on increasing. So that 22 option C is the correct one. And 23, German silver. Many of you gets fooled by the word that German silver means it should contain a copper and silver, but it is not at all having a silver. Okay, so this is a very important, and remember this is a very useful also in future. German silver, you don't consider the silver. Okay, so how to remember this alloy combination is, think over atomic number 28, atomic number 29, atomic number 30. So atomic number 28 is nickel, atomic number 29 is copper, atomic number 30 is zinc. So nickel, copper, zinc. Okay, so the copper is existing in the highest part. The center one is having a very high part. So therefore copper is 5 parts, zinc is 2 parts, nickel is also 2 parts. Equally it is given. So therefore the German silver is an alloy of, we can say, zinc as well as nickel. Okay, along with copper. And coming to the 24th question, osmotic pressure data is asked for. So which has got a very high osmotic pressure of the following. So let's say aluminium sulfate osmotic pressure as pi 1, K3PO4 osmotic pressure as pi 2, and barium chloride as pi 3, and urea as, let's say, pi 4. So now here the osmotic pressure data is given with a constant concentration. So therefore what we can say is the osmotic pressure in turn depends upon the concentrations T, since constant, it depends only on the Van 't Hoff factor I. And assuming the complete dissociation, we know the Van 't Hoff factor I equal to N. This is a derivations. So I equal to N, and where N is the number of ions. So aluminium sulfate, when it dissociates, 2 aluminium 3 plus and 3 SO4 2 minus. So number of ions are going to be 5. For K3PO4, 3K plus and then 1 PO4 3 minus, N equal to 4. And for barium chloride, 1 barium 2 plus and then 2 Cl minus, so that N equals to 3. So that I equal to 5, 4, 3, and then non-electrolyte. Urea is basically doesn't dissociate into ions. Glucose, urea, sucrose, all these are non-electrolyte generally, which doesn't show any association or dissociation character when it is dissolved. So the Van 't Hoff factor I equal to 1 for that case. So that the one which has got a very high Van 't Hoff factor is first one, and then followed by, we can say, the second one, which is K3PO4 is got very high, and then barium chloride, and then urea. So that the Van 't Hoff factor is 5 is higher, followed by 4, followed by 3 and 1. This is actually Van 't Hoff factor. So pi 1 is greater than pi 2, then pi 3, then pi 4. So therefore the options that it exactly matches here is option B. And next question, in which of the following reactions product will be an aldehyde? So the very first one is a ozonolysis reaction. In ozonolysis reactions, wherever you find carbon-carbon double bond, here you must add 2 oxygen to it. So when you add, it results in C double bond O. So therefore C double bond O is a ketone, not an aldehyde. And COH2, CO2, CO8, which is an oxo process, dicobalt octocarbonyl is added. Hydroformylation reaction, one side hydrogen, the other side CHO is added. So the product formed contains aldehyde. And the second one contains a CH3CHOH group, which possibly can undergo iodoform reactions, and that gets first oxidized into CH3CO, which contains a methyl ketone CH3CO, So therefore it undergoes iodoform test, and this CH3 gets converted into iodoform and another carbon gets converted into sodium formate. And then the last one is an hydration reactions, which is following a Markovnikov addition. Here MR stands for Markovnikov addition, and then it results in enol keto tautomerism. So it undergoes keto enol tautomerism, and the reaction is also called as Kucherov's reaction. This is a very important added information to you. And since it follows a Markovnikov rule, the negative part has to go to the carbon carrying least number of hydrogen. Here this is the carbon which contains no hydrogen. At least on the other carbon there is one hydrogen. So therefore the OH has to go to that particular carbon. It results in the enol form, and that gets converted into keto finally. Okay, so therefore the options that it has exactly matching is B. And 26, which of the following compounds will give acetic acid? Almost all, when upon oxidation it gives acetic acid. So option D seems perfect one. 27, under the same conditions, how many ml of 1 molar KOH and 0.5 molar sulfuric acid respectively, when mixed to form at a total volume of 100 ml, produces a highest rise in temperature? So the highest rise in temperature can be achieved when only 2 moles of KOH and then 1 mole of H2SO4 is reacting. So we are going by the mole concept. There is another way where you can go, that is applying equivalent concept, but I suggested this method is a bit easy for you to understand, because many of you are aware from your mole concept rather than equivalent concept. The same question can also be sorted out in terms of equivalent concept. Anyways, that's for your idea. So the maximum rise in the temperature is when 2 mole KOH reacts with only when 1 mole of sulfuric acid. And then we may say VML into molarity is a millimoles. That's the formula. Let's say out of 100 ml, X ml is KOH and remaining will be of sulfuric acid. 100 minus X is of sulfuric acid. And if you take the mole ratio of it, it should become 2 by 1 for the highest maximum rise in the temperature. So the mole ratio can be written as millimoles. So VML into milliliter, or V milliliter into molarity. So the milliliter of KOH is X, and then the molarity is 1 mole for KOH here. So we may say it is 1, and then 100 minus X will be for sulfuric acid, and then 0.5. Okay, that is for 0.5. So then we may get it equal to 2 by 1. So therefore what we may say on this is, by sorting out X, we may get 50. So that we can say 50 ml of KOH and then 100 minus X, which is again 50 ml of H2SO4. So that D is the perfect option for it. 28, which liberates hydrogen? Almost boron, aluminium, zinc, all the three liberates hydrogen, and it forms a sodium zincate, aluminate, sodium borate, negative anion, and the reaction is also given for your supportive data. So option D seems to be correct answer. 29, salts of A, B, C were electrolyzed with some amount of equal charge, and what is the amount deposited is also given at each electrode A, B and C, and they're asking you to find out the valencies of A, B, C. Okay, so the valencies of A, B, C can be calculated using a Faraday's second law. So the Faraday's second law says that WA by EA equal to WB by EB, that in turn equal to WC by EC. So equivalent weight can be written as atomic weight by valency for the elements. So upon writing, taking the ratio, we may get 3:1:2. So the option that is exactly matching here, 3:1:2, is, we may say, C, 3:1:2. And 30, when some amount of sodium acetate is added, a mixture of acetic acid and sodium acetate, then what will happen to the pH of the solution? So the pH of the solution can be identified for this mixture using a buffer, because acetic acid and the sodium salt of acetic acid can act as an acidic buffer, because it is a weak acid plus salt of weak acid plus strong base. So therefore it is an acidic buffer. An acidic buffer pH can be calculated using Henderson-Hasselbalch equation. So the Henderson-Hasselbalch equation can be given as pH equal to pKa plus log salt by acid. So here it is given that some amount of sodium acetate is added. So sodium acetate is a salt. So when you add a salt concentration, pH is going to be increased because it is directly proportional. So that here what will happen is the pH is going to be increased. Okay, so the pH will be increased for it. So that the 30 takes option A. And 31, which of the following is a beta amino acid? So here this is a carboxylic acid, the next carbon is alpha, and this is a carboxylic acid, and next carbon is alpha, and the another next carbon is beta. In that beta only the NH2 group is present, whereas here it is alpha group only it is present. So therefore it is an alpha amino acid, and this is here beta amino acid, here it is gamma amino acid, delta amino acid. It goes on, but which is the exact option that meets our demand here is the second option, beta amino acid. And 32, 4 moles of PCl5 are heated in 4 decimeter cube. 1 decimeter cube is 1 liter, so therefore it can be assumed as 4 liter. So the initial concentration is 4 by 4 because 4 moles in 4 liters, so 1 moles per liter. So what is the amount reacted? Okay, so let's say the amount reacted is 50% because it is given that 50% of PCl5 is dissociated from our initial value. So alpha, degree of dissociation is 0.5. The degree of dissociation can be written as alpha equal to number of moles by the concentrations. Okay, so therefore X equal to C alpha, concentration is 1 and then degree of dissociation is 0.5. So you are going to get X as 0.5. Therefore amount reacted is 0.5 and the amount that is produced at the same time will also be 0.5 and then 0.5. So and finally at equilibrium 1 minus 0.5 you are going to write it as 0.5. 0 plus 0.5 you can write it as 0.5. Here also 0.5 and then 0.5. So then taking the equilibrium constant expression, substituting it, we are getting it as 0.5. So option A. And 33, oxidation of oxalic acid by KMnO4. You all might have done in your practicals also. Potassium permanganate with oxalic acid needs a slight heating. You have to take the temperature to around 60 degrees Celsius. You have to warm the content before the reaction is happening. Okay, so why it is because the reaction is very slow. In order to increase the reaction, we must slightly increase the temperature. Apart from that, there is another way the reaction is getting speeded up. So one way is, as I told to you, by increasing the temperature so that it meets the activation energy needed for the reaction. The second way is, we may say, it is going to act as a catalyst, like one of the product that is produced upon combination of KMnO4 and oxalic acid is going to act as a colorless. Okay, so therefore the Mn2 plus, it is a colorless and that is in turn acting as a catalyst, that is an auto catalyst. So till then the reaction will be very slow. At the initial stages of the chemical reaction, the reaction will be very slow. As the time progresses, the concentration starts to increase for the Mn2 plus and thereby the rate is also increasing. So the correct option that it exactly matches here is 33C. 34, which of the following is a pseudo unimolecular reaction? So the pseudo unimolecular reactions can be option B because it is a complex reaction. Complex reaction involves in 2 different steps. So therefore this is a step 1 and then this is a step 2. In step 1, and the rate can be written as H2O2 and then I minus. Okay, therefore we may say it is like a second order, or we may say it's a complex. It is not a pseudo unimolecular, it is actually a second order reaction. It is not a first order. Let me make a change here. It is a second order. So the rate law can be written as H2O2 and then I minus. It also depends on the catalyst that happens in the generally alkaline medium, so that it is a second order reaction. And C6H5N2Cl in the presence of HOH, diazonium salts hydrolysis, and that will be present in the presence of excess water. So therefore constant water, so constant into constant clubbed into another constant K prime, so that K prime is used over here, so that it is a pseudo first order reaction. And the next one, esterification in basic medium. Here we have NaOH. That's an important trick, I'll say, where you may make you to trap. So NaOH is given. So in acidic medium only it is like pseudo first order, but in basic medium ester hydrolysis is a second order reaction. And ozone to oxygen is also thermally decomposition one. Automatically it happens with the nascent heat release. So that is also not a first order reactions, pseudo first order reactions. So the correct option is for this is B. And 35, which of the following compounds will form alcohol from sodium nitrate? Sodium nitrate NH2 with the HNO2 forms RN2 plus. That aliphatic diazonium salts are lagging in stability of resonance, whereas aromatic diazonium salts are said to be more stable. So the aliphatic diazonium salts are unstable, and further upon treatment with KOH it produces ROH, alcohol, and dinitrogen will be released. So the option that is exactly matching here is D, all of this, because all has got NH2 that gets converted into R plus and then N2. And which of the following is a very first member of monosaccharide? So monosaccharide is basically a carbohydrate, and the correct definition of carbohydrate is it must have a monohydroxy or polyhydroxy aldehydes or ketones. Not monohydroxy, it is polyhydroxy aldehydes or ketones. So in all the compounds there are various hydroxyl group, but it is not having an aldehyde. Okay, so therefore we may say it contains only option A and D. It contains polyhydroxy as well as ketone, but still aldehyde is the very simple monosaccharide, so contains only hydroxy. But which is exact option here again is option B, because that is having a minimum number of carbons, so that can act as the monosaccharide for the very first member. Question number 37, which is a direct NCERT question. I2O5 was used for the estimation of CO that is released in the automobile exhaust. The CO released in that automobile exhaust is converted into carbon monoxide, is converted into carbon dioxide, and that is producing an iodine, and that iodine is treated with the thiosulfate Na2S2O3, and that produces sodium tetrathionate. Okay, so these are the reactions, chemical reactions. And 37 answer is, next is question number 38. In question number 38, the Markovnikov rule is best applicable to the reaction is asked for. The Markovnikov rule can be best applied to the unsymmetrical alkene. So the unsymmetrical alkene is found in option C. And the option B and D, addition reaction occurs via a free radical mechanism, not via electrophilic addition. So the Markovnikov rule is an electrophilic addition, and A is a symmetrical alkene, so therefore that is not the case. And question number 39, in which of the following coordination compounds the oxidation number of +6 for the transition metal is observed? For the first one, when you calculate for chromium, water it is a neutral, so 4 0, chlorine -2, and this one chlorine -1, for water again 0, therefore X equals to 2. And for the second case, which is 0 oxidation state, the lowest oxidation state of the carbonyl is possible, that is because of synergic effect. And then the option C is a bridging one, and in this bridging one, oxygen is a bridging ligand, it's a bridging compound. So in this case you will find the chromium oxidation state is +1. When you go from here, 5 water molecules it is 0, for chromium X, for oxygen -2, and another chromium X, and for 5 water molecules again 0. So then it is equal to 4, 2x equal to 2, x equals to 1. And in option D, potassium 2 are there, so 2 plus chromium is X, cyanide is minus, and one is existing in a form of oxide, the other one is existing in the form of peroxide, therefore it is resulting in 6. So therefore the correct answer is D, and the remaining all are wrong. A, B, C is not matching to our needs. Question number 40, which of the following is a zwitterion? Zwitterion must possess both acidic and basic entities in it, and the acidic basic entities both are present in this particular one, NH3 plus SO3 minus. And Pohling process, which is from metallurgy, which is beyond the scope anyways, but learn what is Pohling process. The Pohling process is possibly occurring when the impure metal has impurity of its own metal oxides. Let's say for example, if you want to purify the copper, but copper oxide itself is an impurity, or tin oxide itself is an impurity, then it is used by a Pohling process. So generally the Pohling process is applicable for copper and then SN. So therefore the 41, the best option that is matching is option A. And alumina from aluminium, so sometimes it is done using a Hoops process, but it is aluminium refining method. Extraction of aluminium is done using process called Hall-Héroult process. And hematite ore blast furnace reaction, which is done sometimes to reduce the percentage carbon, some silica lined converter is also used. So therefore option A seems perfect match. 42, which of the following statement is correct? So almost all the statements are, seems like a correct. Okay, so 42 here is says A and B, but C doesn't seems correct because it is, this is correct, this is correct, so D is also correct, but C is not correct. And MnO2 is going to form an antiferromagnetic. Okay, it is antiferromagnetic, and spinels are a very great examples for ferrimagnetic. Okay, ferrimagnetic in the sense domains alignment will be unequal. As you can see in the C, the domains alignments will be unequal. So this is A is for ferromagnetism, all domain alignments will be in the upward directions, and this is the second one is a ferrimagnetism and then antiferromagnetism. So ferri and then antiferromagnetism. Okay, so therefore MnO2 is an antiferromagnetic substances. So the option for this is both A and B is correct. Okay, that is correct. Option D is correct. 43, in a given reaction, aldol reaction, this is second aldol reactions we see in the same question paper. So retroaldol, reverse aldol is what we call it as a retroaldol. A simple trick to identify the product. Find out the alpha beta unsaturated. So alpha in the sense the COHO attached carbon, this carbon is the alpha carbon. So always add 2 hydrogens to the alpha carbon and then add 1 oxygen to the beta carbon to get back the initial reactant. So therefore when you apply that concept, you are getting benzaldehyde and then acetaldehyde as the product. 44, the structure of BeFe4 2 minus, and that observed to be like 2 valence electron. For 2 valence electron I've crossed 2 crosses and there are 2 electrons excess, so there I'll write 2 more electrons, and for every fluorine there will be 1 sigma bond. So the steric factor is 4 and it results in the 4 sigma bonds. So when it is a 4 sigma bonds, then we may say it is going to have sp3 hybridization, and for sp3 hybridization the geometry is going to be tetrahedral in nature. So that what is the option for the 44 is A. And 45, half-life of a reaction becomes half when the initial concentration is made double. That is a characteristic for the second order reaction. For the first order reaction, the half-life is not going to depend on the initial concentration of the reactant. We know the expression is T half equal to 0.693 by K. Whereas for zero order, it is directly proportional. When you increase the concentration to the double, half-life also has to become double. But it is not happening actually, as per the condition stated in the question. So therefore, we may say only the B is meeting the requirement exactly. So therefore, A, C, D was found to be wrong and B only is a correct match. So with this, the NTA recent release question has also come to an end. Please again go through meticulously each questions one by one. Pass wherever is required. Try to understand the detailed explanations given up here and try to utilize the channel very well, and please subscribe the channel in future so that in case if you get any videos from our channel, you can get up to date and you can utilize to the maximum code. I understand during this period time we all are struck up at home and you may feel sometimes that it is directionless way of thinking, but definitely the Chemistry Rights team is going to help you a lot till this pandemic gets over. Okay, so not only this pandemic, even after the pandemic it continues to strive hard for your continuous support. Let's see, try to subscribe the channel and make complete use of the channel. Thank you. Visit again, get electrified with Chemistry.